Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 20th Howth Singing Circle Howth Burns Nicht, coming to you live, as you can see, from our front room, which is dressed like a pub in Edinburgh on an Ireland at Murrayfield Day, or maybe the Tavern Vaults at Brigton Cross, for those of you who are familiar. Normally, this event would be in a packed Abbey Tavern, 180 people crammed in to hear a lovely night of Scottish and Irish music. This is not a Burns supper, as you would ken in Scotland. This is a Burns Nicht, and takes the form, as we said, of a celebration of Scottish and Irish music, although we will address the haggis and have various other features of Burns. Once COVID meant that we couldn't have the live event, we approached Edinburgh Folk Club and the World's Room and asked would they care to join us in promoting this event, and they did so immediately, and they've been tremendous co-partners in this exercise. My name is Francie Devine from Howth, and I'm going to hand you over now to David Francis, who's going to co-host tonight, representing both the Edinburgh Folk Club and the World's Room.
Thanks, Francie, and a very warm welcome also from Edinburgh Folk Club and the World's Room here in Scotland. We're delighted to be sharing in this digital experiment with Howth Singing Circle, and we're hoping that the experiment works. And one of the things that will make it successful is if we attend to some technical details, which Francie will tell you about now.
Okay, a few technical details before David starts the night proper. First of all, many of you will have seen the wee brochure that we do every year. Our thanks to Mark Daniel, Christy Hammond, and Richie Taylor of CRM Design and Print. The front cover is a piece of the genius work of Alan MacDonald of Edinburgh Folk Club, and you'll see there the Forth Road rail bridge, the Bailey Lighthouse from here in Howth, and a suitably masked and socially distanced Burns in the left-hand column. You have a chat box at the bottom, and for those of you looking at Facebook, and you're very welcome, you can obviously offer comments there. There's also a donate button if you feel like doing that on the Edinburgh Folk Club website, which is going to the Carrying Stream Fund, or on the Howth Singing Circle website, and our sincere thanks to those that have already done that. We have a session tomorrow as well, which will be done in a similar fashion, live on Zoom and streamed on Facebook, a singing session from 3 to 6, led by Scott Gardner and Niamh Parsons. So that's tomorrow at 3 o'clock till 6. The one final sort of technical issue tonight is, oh, by the way, for people on Facebook, if you want to share it or set up watch parties, please do so. We're going to attempt tonight to allow everybody unmute themselves at the end of every item. That will allow for some applause and some sense of occasion and company. But it is absolutely vital that you're then diligent in remuting yourself at the end of the item. And that's really when either myself or David begin to introduce the next item. So to start the Waddle Door, the 20th Howth Singing Circle Burns Nicht in association with Edinburgh Folk Club and the World's Room, David Francis.
Thanks, Francie. I should just point out that the artwork was done by Alan Macmillan. Alan MacDonald is another proposition altogether.
Sorry, get my focus muddled up. My apologies, Alan.
But like many other folk clubs, Edinburgh Folk Club offers a platform to singers other than the booked guests. We're a folk club that has a regular booked guest pretty much every week. And we're really fortunate in that we have a roster of very strong regular performers. So this is Gilly Hewitt with 2 short Burns songs, A Rosebud by My Early Walk and The Silver Tassie.
Hello, here are 2 short contrasting Robert Burns songs. A rosebud by my early walk, a down a corn enclosed bog, sae gently bent its thorny stalk, sae early in the morning. Ere twice the shades o' dawn are fled, in all its crimson glory spread, and drooping rich its dewy head, it scents the early morning. Within the bush, her covered nest, the little linnet fondly pressed. The dew sat chilly on her breast, say early in the morning. She soon shall see her tender brood, her pride the pleasure o' the wood. Among the fresh green leaves bedewed, awake the early morning. So thou, dear bird, young Jeanie fair, on trembling string or vocal lyre, shall sweetly pay thy tender care that tends the early morning. So thou, sweet rosebud, young and gay, shall beauteous blaze upon the day, and bless the parents' evening ray that watch thy early morning. Go fetch to me a pint of wine and fill it in a silver tassie, that I may drink afore I go. A service to my bonny lassie. The boat rocks at the pier o' Leith, full loud the wind roars to the ferry. The ship rides by the berry claw, and I'm on leave, my bonny Mary. The trumpet sounds, the banners fly, the glittering spears are ranked ready. The shouts of war are heard afar. The battle thickens deep and bloody. It's not the roar of sea or shore what mak me langer wish to tarry, nor shouts o' war that's heard afar. It's leaving thee, my bonny Mary. Go fetch to me a pint of wine and fill it in a silver tassie, that I may drink afore I go. A service to my bonny lassie.
Brilliant.
Very good. Good stuff there, Gilly Hewitt. For those of you who are looking in gallery, if you go to the top right hand corner of your screen and just put into speaker view, you'll get the picture. Helen, you need to spotlight me. Okay, that is happening there. Okay, it's thanks very much, Helen. The first item from Ireland is also a video, and it's from one of the great current Irish fiddle players, Liam O'Connor, the director of the Irish Traditional Music Archive, a fiddle player, a collector, and a musicologist. His most recent CD, The Loom, can be accessed online. He's the one of a musical family whose father, Mick O'Connor, is a very famous character around the Irish traditional music scene. And Liam, of course, has been associated with the Howth Singing Circle, not least through the organisation of the famous fiddle buses that have been to Scotland on a number of occasions. Liam is going to do his own introduction of an unusual aspect of how Burns influenced P.W. Joyce, one of the great figures in Irish traditional music. So Liam O'Connor.
Happy Burns, Nicht. I'm going to play an air called Oh Love, It Is a Killing Thing. And it's an air that was published in Patrick Weston Joyce's 1909 collection. But in his introduction to that song, he speaks of Robert Burns and his influence on people in Munster and in Limerick in particular. This is, he's referring back to his childhood in 1830, 1840. So with this air in mind, he said, this air was universal in Munster in my early life. Versions of it may be found in various collections. To this same air, after a common Munster custom, the Limerick people often sang Burns's Oh My Love's Like a Red, Red Rose. He also pays a nice tribute to Burns as well, saying Burns took the idea, apparently the very words from a Scottish version of the peasant song, as was his custom, and with a magic touch of genius, changed it to his own exquisite stanzas. I'll give the air a little try and then go into a real, again, a Munster version of a well-known tune called the Farewell to Ireland. Of course, it's largely Scotland's the source of most of our reels in some shape or form. So enjoy the rest of the evening. Song of the Fall.
Liam O'Connor. Now, The Slave's Lament is one of the most powerful songs in the whole Burns canon. And it's a masterpiece of imaginative empathy. but there's a strong sense of irony about it too, when you think that Burns was all set at one time to move to Jamaica to become an overseer on a sugar plantation. But here to sing it for us tonight, Niamh Parsons, accompanied by Graham Dunn.
In sweet Senegal that my foes did me enthrall, for the lands of Virginia, Virginia, oh, torn from that lovely shore, and must never see it more, and alas, I am weary, weary, oh. All on that charming coast is no bitter snow or frost, like the lands of Virginia, Virginia, oh. Their flowers forever bloom, and the streams forever flow, and alas, I am weary, weary, oh. This burden I must bear, while the cruel scourge I fear in the lands of Virginia, Virginia, oh. And I think of friends so dear, with a bitter, bitter tear, and alas, I am weary, weary, oh. In sweet Senegal that my foes did me enthrall, for the lands of Virginia, Virginia, oh, torn from that lonely shore, and must never see it more, and alas, I am weary, weary, oh. And alas, I am weary, weary, oh. And alas, I am weary, weary, oh.
Niamh Parsons and the wonderful accompaniment of Graham Dunn. And you give Dave O'Connor notice that he's going to be on next, just to say a couple of things before David comes on. The first is I neglected to thank Gilly Hewitt after the first item. Apologies, Gilly. And of course, Alan McMillan, my old pal in Leith, rather than Alan MacDonald. Great work, Alan, who's been a great supporter over the last couple of weeks with various things. Our first live item is going to come appropriately from Fingal, from the area of Dublin in which we live, from a previous Lord Mayor of Fingal, also somebody very closely associated with the great rise in Irish cricket. And finally, he's come to the Howth Singing Circle Burns Nicht on a number of occasions, dressed in very peculiar costumes as a member of the Fingal Mummers. But Dave O'Connor is one of the most celebrated figures in North Dublin and Angolan and traditional singing in Ireland generally, but particularly noted for his songs from the North Dublin Fingal area. And tonight he's going to sing a song most appropriate to Howth, Hannah Healy, The Pride of Howth, a song found in a chapbook in Waterford circa 1840. Dave O'Connor.
Can you hear it?
Go ahead, Dave, just sing.
Go ahead. Ye muses nine to my aid incline, and assist my genius whilst I declare my love-sick pain for a beauteous dame, whose killing charms did me ensnare. Sly little Cupid has knocked me stupid, in grief I mourn, for upon my oath, my frame's declining, I'm so repining, for Hannah Healy, the pride of Howth. She's tall and slender, both young and tender, she is modest, mild, and so sublime. For education in Erin's nation, there is none to equal this nymph divine. I wish to gain her, but I can't obtain her. I would fondly court her, but still I'm loath, lest I should tease her, or once displease her. Sweet Hannah Healy, the pride of Howth. At 17, this maid serene, my heart attracted, I must allow. I taught her surely a goddess purely, or some bright angel, and that I vow. But still I languish, my mind's in anguish, a deep decline, it does curb my growth. None can relieve me, you may believe me, but Hannah Healy, the pride of Howth. In all Olympus, I'm sure no nymph is to equal her that I do admire. Her charming features surpasses nature. Alas, she has set my heart on fire. She exceeds Flora and the bright Aurora, and the beauteous Venus from the briny throat. I'm captivated, I do repeat it, by Hannah Healy, the pride of Howth. Each lovely morning, young men come swarming to view this charmer taking the air. She is so enchanting, they are all panting to gain her favors, I do declare. But still they're fearful and in no way cheerful. The greatest hero, you'll find him loath. None dare entreat her or supplicate her, so bright an angel is the pride of Howth. I will stop my writing and my inditing. I see it's useless for me to fret. 1 pound of trouble or sorrow double will ne'er atone for 1 ounce of debt. I'll resign courting and all like sporting, Cupid and Hymen, I'll shun them both. Erase my mind from all female kind, so adieu, sweet Hannah, the pride of Howth.
Woo!
Dave.
Very, very appropriate. Very much
Well done,
indeed.
Dave.
Dave has been a great supporter of the Howth Singing Circle. And what do you call it? We should say when we go to the next video that one of the most important people tonight on the program, you can't see him, but he's a guy in Edinburgh called Sandy McGee from Channel 7, capital A, Channel 7A. If you look him up afterwards, you'll see the great work that he does. And Sandy has coordinated and managed all the video performances tonight. And quite frankly, without him, we probably wouldn't be here. So please put your hands together for Sandy McGee. We've been looked on Facebook from Brooklyn and other parts of New York, Portaferry in County Down, the Orkney Islands, Kilbarrack down the road, Bridan in Yvwil, agus Moirni Gidi as Gidor, Aidan O'Hara in Longford, Micheál McDonagh, a former Lord Mayor of Dublin, here in Dublin, Brenda Collins in the Borders, Shirley Fuchs in Galogi, and Karen Davidson. I'm not sure where Karen is from, but a good audience on Facebook, and you're all very, very welcome. The next video is going to be of one of the great friends of the Howth Singing Circle, although he's from Tarland up in Aberdeenshire, and I believe they're watching, Shona and Paul Anderson. Paul is one of the great contemporary Scottish fiddle players, not just as a player and collector, but also as an interpreter of the tunes of Scott Skinner, Peter Mill from his own parish of Tarland, Hector McAndrew, and so on. And he's in the current time doing a prodigious amount of recording on his Facebook page, all of the tunes. He's also a composer of a considerable number of tunes, but also the Heelan Symphony, which has been recorded with the Highland Youth Orchestra. Paul was also a guest at the Howth Singing Circle Burnsnick before, but a key figure with Liam O'Connor with the formation and organisation of the various fiddle buses. Tonight, Paul is going to play Major Graham of Inchi Brackey, an original tune apparently for My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose, the Rahi Merchus Rant, which is a tune for the song Lassie with the Lint White Locks, and My Love, She's But a Lassie Yet. One of our great pals, Paul Anderson, and you can tune in every Friday night to Paul and Shona live from the lounge to have some great cracking music on their Facebook page.
Going to play 3 tunes. The first is Major Graham of Inchbrakie by Neil Gow, which was the original melody that Burns set to My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose. That's followed by the Rothe Marchus Rant by Robert Bremner, an old Strathspey, which Burns set the lyrics of The Lassie with the Lint White Locks to. And then we'll finish with My Love, She's But a Lassie Yet.
Oh, excellent.
Lovely playing there from Paul Anderson. Now, one of the highlights of the Edinburgh Folk Club year is the annual Hamish Henderson Lecture, which was given just a couple of months ago by Professor Kirstine McHugh of Glasgow University, who explored how Burns was interpreted by the contemporary composer, American composer Serge Hovey. And we've got a clip now of Kirstine singing one of Burns's earliest songs, Corn Rigs, maybe in a slightly different style to what we're used to. So here's Kirstine McHugh.
It was upon a Lammas Nicht when corn rigs are holy. Beneath the moon's unclouded light, I held a watty Annie. The time flew by with tentless heat, till tween the late and early. With small persuasion she agreed to see me through the barley. Corn rigs and barley rigs and corn rigs are bonny. I'll never forget that happy night among the rigs we aye. The sky was blue, the wind was still, the moon was shining clearly. I said her done with recht goodwill among the rigs o' barley. I kenned her heart was all my aim, I wooed her me sincerely. I kissed her there and over again among the rigs o' barley. Corn rigs and barley rigs and corn rigs are bonny. I'll never forget that happy night among the rigs we are. I locked her in my fond embrace. Her heart was beating really. My blessings on that happy place among the rigs o' barley. But by the moon and stars sae bright that shone at her sae clearly, she I shall bless that happy night among the rigs o' barley. Corn rigs and barley rigs and corn rigs are bonny. I'll never forget that happy night among the rigs we aye. I have in blithe with comrades dear, I have in merry drinking, I have in joyful gathering gear, I have in happy thinking. But all the pleasures that I saw, though 3 times double fairly, that happy night was worth them all among the rigs o' barley. Corn rigs and barley rigs and corn rigs are bonny. I'll never forget that happy night among the rigs we aye.
Woo!
Lovely. Very nice.
Kirsten's version of Burns there is part, as David said, of a long program of examining, if you like, the orchestration and arrangement of Burns for a classical situation. Very different. She made the point in the lecture that to some extent our contemporary interpretation of Burns derives really from people like Dick Gaughan in the 1970s. And that prior to that, that was perhaps a more common way to hear Robbie Burns. The second live performance is going to be from Caoimhe Hogarty, so I'm giving you notice, Caoimhe. If Helen could spotlight me, it would be helpful. Caoimhe is one of 4 people we have tonight to sing songs representing the various Irish provinces, in this case, Connacht. Caoimhe herself is a fabulous singer. You can check out her CDs on Bandcamp. She's a voice coach. She does sound healing and various other strings to her bow. And tonight she's going to sing a song which really wowed us all when she first sang this at the Singing Circle some years ago. The classic ballad, Sean Nos ballad, although tonight a spurla, Donald Og, Young Donald, a song of betrayal, obsession and grief, a young girl's cry. And now Caoimhe, over to yourself. Caoimhe Hogarty. Just
My Donald Og. Oh,
sorry, I'm getting instructions here from somebody else. Sorry, Caoimhe. My
Okay.
apologies. There was a technical issue here. Sorry, Caoimhe, off you go. My
Okay.
apologies.
Okay. My Donald Og, when you sail o'er the water, take me with you to be your partner. 'Tis at fair or at market, you'd be well looked after, and you can sleep with the Greek king's daughter. My Donald Og, you'll not find me lazy, not like some high-born, expensive lady. I'll do your milking and I'll nurse your baby. And if you were set on, I would back you bravely. I saw you first of a Sunday evening. 'Twas at the Easter as I was kneeling, and it was of Christ's passion that I was reading. But my eyes, they were on you, and my fond heart bleeding. Oh, you said you would meet me, but you were lying behind the sheepfold as day was dying. I whistled first, then I started hailing, but all I could hear was the young lambs wailing. And you said you would give me but if you talk lightly, fishskin gloves that would fit me tightly, and birdskin shoes when I'd go out walking, and a silken dress that would set Ireland talking. Oh, black as the sloe is the heart inside me, black as the coal is the grief that drives me, black as a boot print on shining hallways, and 'twas you that blackened it forever and always. For you took what's before me and what's behind me. You took east and west when you would not mind me. The sun, moon, and stars from my sky you've taken, and God likewise, for I am much mistaken. My Donald Og, when you sailed o'er the water,
Fantastic, Cleveland. Brilliant.
Absolutely beautiful, Cleaver. Absolutely beautiful. One of the great
Beautiful.
depressions for me about the COVID is that I haven't been able to get to sing with you. But hopefully we'll put that right. Absolutely stunning version of Donal Óg.
Thanks very
we have-
much.
You're getting a terrific response on our Facebook audience, and I'm going to mention a few now. Christine, Nathan, and the kids in Småland in Sweden. Ian and Norma in Aberdeen, Phil Alt in Guelph in Ontario, Michelle McGregor and Urs Dubois, Angela Murray, a great interpreter of Burns herself, Inez and Matilda in Trinent, Kathy Hopkirk and Brenda Collins in the Borders there in Scotland, Grania Nivwiri, one of the great Howth Burns Nicht attenders, Annie Reid up there in Stonehaven, Larry O'Toole, Francis Rogers, Hazel O'Connor. Willie O'Connor is the daughter of our former president who we lost a year or two ago. Great to see you here, see you there, Hazel. And indeed, Anya Bani Kahasi, wife of our just recently deceased president, Dermot O'Cahasi, Catherine Shortall in Balbriggan, Renita Prestes, Ellie in Portmarnock, John and Margaret Reardon, Claire Cunningham in Lusk, Johnny Johnson down there in Roscommon. How are you, Johnny? And one of our great supporters, Eileen Clancy. Now we go to one, I think, of something that may well prove to be a highlight of the evening, Cueva's beautiful singing notwithstanding. The Howth Singing Circle every year, when the haggis is brought into the room, although haggis is not coming now, but when it does come into the room, it's brought in by the entire St. Lawrence of Howth Pipe Band. And we now have the pipe band's pipe major, Noel Kelly, who won the World Championship as a member of the St. Lawrence O'Toole Pipe Band in 2010. And indeed, when Howth won the World Championship in their own grade 3 or grade 4, I think it was, in 2005. And a stalwart member of the Singing Circle has piped us in and out of various events. He's going to be joined at some point through the presentation on the video by Gary West, Professor of Scottish Ethnology at the University of Edinburgh and Director of the European Ethnological Research Centre, a member from Pitlochry in Perthshire originally, a member of the Vale of Atholl Pipe Band, Cool Beg, Clan Alba and various other tremendous groups, runs a weekly programme on BBC, Pipelines, and was inducted into the Scottish Traditional Music Hall of Fame. And we must thank, in organising this particular video, although Sandy is broadcasting it for us, we must thank Gary's son, Charlie, who you'll see did some tremendous work in synchronization. The three tunes that are going to be played are Loch and Side, The Scottish Soldier, and G.S. McClellan's Jigo Slurs. So our pipes tonight. Mighty stuff.
Lovely.
Mighty.
Well, that was Noel Kelly in Ireland and Gary West in Scotland, and brought together by some digital magic. Thanks to Charlie West for helping out with that. Now, at the World's Room, which, as Francis said, is Edinburgh's monthly singing club. I said was there, it almost is in the past tense, the past year or so. But at the World's Room, you're never quite sure who's going to drop in and oblige the company with the song. And always welcome when he makes the trip over from Fife is one of our great singers of traditional song in Scotland. So please welcome Jimmy Hutchison.
Hello. I know that's not Jimmy Hutchison you've got on your screen.
Hold on, Jimmy, that was my mistake. Just hold off a second.
That's all right. Janet's looking very well, so. Well, we're getting started. I'm going to sing you a song called "The Soldier's Return," and that's part of a longer poem by Burns. But these 4 verses went into the tradition, and I learnt them from Jeannie Robertson from Aberdeen. So I don't know if we're ready to go now. We're ready? Okay. Oh, the wild war's stately blasts are blown, and gentle peace returning, left many's a pair born featherless, and many a widow mourning. Now I left the lines o' tented fields, while long I'd been a lodger. I a humble knapsack on my was. I'm a pair, but on a soldier. Nu a little Leichtert was in my breast, my hands unstained with plunder, and all's for Scotia came again. I cheery on the wander. Nu I dreamt about the banks o' Kyle. I dreamt about my Nancy, and I minded the winsome smile that took my youthful fancy. Thank you.
The eagle-eyed amongst you would notice the plain piece of tweed that Jimmy Hutchison was wearing there. I might add that I've no doubt that he weaved it himself in Newbury Mills down there in the borders, and you can check out his website for bargains anytime you like. We've got loads of people still looking in on Facebook. Ian and Anne Anderson and the Howth Cramar. Loads of folk from Howth, which is particularly lovely to see. Ursula Fagan, Laurie Tarr, Phil Hanlon, Georgie Farron, Conor Adulachain in Ohio, Mordag Dempsey and Robin in Peebles, Anne Parsons Dunn and Pat Burke, Sarah Simpson, all I think Goaling connected, Sandy Mathers or Mathers in Lauriston, Marnie Carney, Jean McMoney's Macquarie in Gretna Green, Terry Bradley and Tony Kay in Dumfries, the town that Burns died in. Eugene McEldowney says he hasn't enjoyed himself as much as he came to the Phoenix Park. Now, of course, Eugene doesn't get out too often, but nevertheless, thank you for that, Eugene. Larry Egan and Larry O'Connor, Jim Quinn in Enniskillen, and Ken and Peter Hall from the Music Traditions Club in London. You're all very, very welcome. The next item, live item, is from one of the Howth Singing Circle committee, and the woman that's operating the spotlight tonight, so she's stretched with work without having to sing or recite, as she's going to do now. Helen is an award-winning short story writer, extraordinarily creative woman, and tonight she's going to read the poem, Burns' poem, Sweet Afton. This has a particular connection in Ireland because Burns' sister Agnes and her husband Thomas Galt came across to Stephenstown in County Louth, quite close to Dundalk, where Thomas built ponds, both as a source of energy, water, but also food for the local estate, and became the estate manager. When she died, she was buried in St. Nicholas's Church in Dundalk. He died after her, and the two of them are buried there. And as far as we can establish, it's the earliest Burns monument, because their grave marks Robert Burns as well, the earliest known Burns monument outside of Scotland. And later on, when Carol's Tobacco brought out a new cigarette, they asked the people through the local Argus newspaper what they wanted to call it, and the overwhelming result of the plebiscite was Sweet Afton. Helen is now going to read that poem, probably without a smoker's cough. Helen Lahart.
Flow gently, sweet Afton, among thy green braes. Flow gently, I'll sing thee a song in thy praise. My Mary's asleep by thy murmuring stream. Flow gently, sweet Afton, disturb not her dream. Thou stock dove, whose echo resounds through the glen, ye wild whistling blackbirds in yon thorny den. Thou green-crested lapwing, thy screaming forbear. I charge you, disturb not my slumbering fair. How lofty, sweet Afton, thy neighbouring hills, far marked with the courses of clear winding rills. There daily I wander as noon rises high, my flocks and my Mary's sweet cot in my eye. How pleasant thy banks and green valleys below, where wild in the woodlands the primroses blow. There oft, as mild evening weeps over the lea, the sweet-scented birk shades my Mary and me. Thy crystal stream, Afton, how lovely it glides, and winds by the cot where my Mary resides. How wanton thy waters her snowy feet lave, as gathering sweet flowerets, she stems thy clear wave. Flow gently, sweet Afton, among thy green braes. Flow gently, sweet river, the theme of my lays. My Mary's asleep by thy murmuring stream. Flow gently, sweet Afton, disturb not her dream.
Lovely.
Lovely stuff.
Very much for that. Now move to what is often the climax of the night, or the highlight of the night, which is the address to the haggis. A lot of people were involved in what's going to follow. We're going to meet again our two pipers, Noel Kelly and Gary West. Gary's here with us on Zoom tonight, so good evening, Gary. And they're going to play A Man's a Man for All That. And as you'll notice, we always give our Burns Nichts a title, and this year it's the World O'er, which seemed to us to be appropriate in the context of what we're doing this evening, but also, of course, as the world battles, among other crises, the COVID crisis. So the World's Oar seemed to us to be a good title. So they're going to play A Man's a Man for all that. At some point, Carol Pryor will appear. And I don't think I'm going to spoil it for you after that, but Carol brings in the haggis. And this is an equal opportunities Burns Nicht. And as is the tradition, Morag Dunbar, originally from Kirkcaldy, now biding in Balerno and associated with the Balerno Folk Club, and a long-standing, usually with Janet Weatherston, a long-standing visitor to the Howth Singing Circle. In fact, I don't think they've missed a Burns Nicht in the last decade or more. So we now have the introduction and address to the haggis.
Slanjaba.
Slanjaba.
Slanjaba. Fair for your honest sonsy face, great chieftain o' the puddin' race. Upon the maw you tak your place, pain stripe or fairn. We'll lay a word o' your grace as lang's my ear. The groaning trencher there you fill, your heart is like a distant hill, your pin would set to mend a mill in time of need. And through your pores the dews distill like amber bead. This knife, say rustic labour dicht, and cut you up with ready slicht, trenching your gushing entrails brecht like ony ditch. Oh, what a glorious sight! Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal tack the hindmost on they drive, till all their well-swelt kites alive are bent like drums. An old good man is like to rive, they thank it hums. Is there the hour is French ragout, or olio with stow a sou, or fricassee with mac a spew with perfect scunner, looks down with sneering scorn for view on sick a dinner? Hair devil, see him out his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank a gidbit blashes, neve a knit, through bloody field and flood to dash. Oh, how unfit Mark the rustic haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread. Clapping his wally neve a blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will sned like taps of thistle. Ye poors will mak mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking ware that chops and luggies. But if you want a great for prayer, you're a haggis. You're a haggis.
Thanks, Morag, and I hope you're a bit cozier just now than you were when that was recorded. That looked perishing. A wee grace. Some hae meat and canna eat, and some wad eat that want it. But we hae meat and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
We should retrospectively there thank Morag, Carol, and particularly the guy that was suffering from frostbite, the cameraman, Alan Pryor, who I'm sure is back out of casualty now with frostbite, but well done to the three of you. Absolutely terrific. And Morag, as I say, has graced our Burns Nicks for a decade, and it's absolutely gorgeous to see you, Morag. After the haggis, and before we commence the second half, by our tradition, which we borrowed from the piping world, we always commence the second half with a lament. I've already mentioned the recent loss that we suffered with our president, Dermot O'Cahasig, passing away in December. And I mentioned our former president as well, Willie O'Connor. But I'm sure many of you have friends and family that have departed in the last year. So Noel Kelly is going to come back and play a lament. Tommy Tully's heir. Tommy Tully and his family have been very significant stalwart figures in the Irish Highland piping tradition. So when this is being played, we'd ask you to consider past friends and relations that have passed, and at the end of it, maybe just to reflect for a minute or two with silence. So Noel Kelly.
Minutes of silence.
Okay, thank you very much, Noel. As I said, we usually do that as a tradition to sort of remember those who have passed in the last year. And sadly, this has been a tough year. And I'm sure it's a tough year for a lot of people looking in. All of the artists tonight are featured in our little program. It is available online. You can check the Facebook pages and link in if you wish to have a look at it and download it. We're now going to also do something which we always do at the Howth Singing Circle. We have a resident band, and that band plays tunes which are both tunes in themselves of the highest quality, but also an occasion for people to get up and have a wee Howth, a wee dance. So tonight we've asked John Kelly, who's always led the group, fiddle player, one of the son of John Kelly of Capel Street. You can check an absolutely wonderful website designed by his daughter Aoife, the concertina player, on the whole influence of John Kelly Sr., John Kelly Jr., James Kelly in fiddle and concertina music, a terrific site. John is also the third leg of the Fiddle Bus with Liam O'Connor and Paul Anderson, and the Fiddle Bus has been one of our great events. He's joined tonight by Larry Egan, a young box player from County Wicklow, gaining in reputation. I always think of Larry as the man behind the mixer. He drives the session along, gives it great verve. Larry, in his day job, is doing work of immense national importance. He's working in Guinness, and they're joined by Mick Mullen, a very much sought after accompanist, fine musician, but also a very well-known case maker, instrument case maker. So if anybody's looking for an instrument case, get in touch with Mick through us. They're playing a set of reels tonight, Last Night's Fun and The Wind That Shakes the Barley. Our resident band, the John Kelly Band. Great stuff. John Kelly, as I say, a great stalwart of the Howth singing circle and a terrific individual. Larry Egan on box and Mick Mullen on guitar. We're going to have another poem now, but before we do, I just want to welcome a few more people on Facebook. My cousins, Ron and Barbara Fleming in Prestwick. Hello there, good to see you. Tony McGailey, Dante McAllister, Ethel Buckley, our young singer in residence until a few months ago, Cathal Caulfield, lovely to see you. Una Kane, Leslie Ann McCluckie, George Duff in, as he says himself, historic Haddington, where Burns' mother, brother and sister are buried. We may hear George tomorrow. Kaich Nichaneja, Emma Farrell, Amy Munro, Deb Hobbs in Brighton, Dave Eyre in Sheffield, Alexander Rochvarg and Edie Saunders, and a particular welcome, Ihuai, Margaret Bennett. Absolutely lovely that you've joined us, Margaret, and I hope you do tomorrow. So we're now going to a very famous poem relating to a very famous piece of music. Our Nobel laureate, Seamus Heaney, when he was buried, there was only one of his poems read at the funeral, and it was this poem, The Given Note. And the tune that begot the poem was later played by Liam O'Flynn, the only piece of music played at the funeral. The poem, known in Irish as Port na Pookie, from the Skelligs, from the Blaskets, I beg your pardon, from the Blaskets in County Kerry, supposedly came to a local fisherman one night, and he thought he heard this tune in the wind, as it were, and he thought he got it from the fairies, hence the Irish Port na Pookie, the fairies' tune. There is a theory that perhaps the tune was actually him, believe it or not, hearing Wales, the songs of Wales. But to read that poem, I'm going to vacate the stage for a minute and hand over to the woman doing all the technical stuff tonight, without whom it wouldn't happen. Anne Reardon, a C of the Howth Singing Circle.
What of the singing circle? Good evening, everybody. The given note. On the most westerly Blasket, in a dry stone hut, he got this air out of the night. Strange noises were heard by others who followed, bits of a tune coming in on loud weather. Though nothing like melody, he blamed their fingers and ears as unpracticed, their fiddling easy, for he had gone alone onto the island and brought back the whole thing. The house throbbed like his full violin. So whether he calls it spirit music or not, I don't care. He took it out of the wind off the mid-Atlantic. Still, he maintains, from nowhere. It comes off the bow gravely, rephrases itself into the air. Seamus Heaney.
Well done.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Seamus Heaney, as well. Our next performer is familiar to patrons of all three of tonight's host organisations. You know her well in Howth, and she's a regular visitor and performer at the World's Room and Edinburgh Folk Club, and very popular with all of them, I should say. You saw her earlier doing sterling work with the Trencher of Haggis. Please welcome Carol Pryor.
Hi. There was an old castle of Kellyburn, high in the Grouse bonny wi' time, and he had a wife was the plague o' his days, and the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. A day the cattle gaed up the lang glen, high in the Grouse bonny wi' time, and he met with a devil, says, who do ye fain? And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. I hae a bad wife, sir, that's all my complaint. I am the Grouse bonny wi' time, and saving your presence to her you're a saint. And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. Well, it's neither your stot nor your steak shall I crave. I am the Grouse bonny wi' time, but gi'e me your wife, man, for her I must have. And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. Oh, you're welcome, most kindly, the blithe Carol said. I am the Grouse bonny wi' time, but if you can match her, you're more than your cod. And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. So the devil has got the old wife on his back. I am the Grouse bonny wi' time, and like a pear peddler he's carried his pack. And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. He has carried her hame to his ain hallan door. I am the Grouse bonny wi' time, and he's bade her come in for a bitch and a hoor. And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. Then straight he makes 50 the pick o' his band. I am the Grouse bonny wi' time, turn out on her guard wi' a clap o' his hand. And the time it is withered and Drew is in prime. but the carlin gaed through them as ony would bear. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime, whate'er she got hands on, come near her nae mair. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. Ah, reekit wee devil looks over the wa. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime. Oh, help, Mister, help, or she'll ruin us all. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. So the devil he swore by the edge o' his knife. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime. He pitied the man that was tied to a wife. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. And the devil he swore by the kirk and the bell. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime, that he ne'er was in wedlock, thank heavens, but in hell. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. So Satan has travelled again wi' his pack. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime, and to her old husband he's carried her back. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. I hae been a devil the feck o' my life. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime, but I ne'er was in hell till I met wi' his wife. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. So that's why the women are better than men. High in the roo grows bonny wi' chime. They can gang down to hell, but can come back again. And the time it is withered, and rue is in prime. Thank you. Kelly Burton.
Thank you, Carol. Carol, that she's getting straight into her comments on her choice of jewellery, which appears to have gone down very well. The last time Carol was in Howth, she sang one of her own compositions, and Carol is a great, not just a songwriter, but she's put fabulous tunes to poems by people like Violet Jacob. But her classic Oaths, all I can say is we were sold out of Oaths by Tuesday in Howth the week after you came, Carol. So there we are. There's loads of people still on Facebook. Sarah Simpson, Trudy Duggan, I think a wee nest of people up in Donegal, Trasin Gallagher, Phil O'Connor, and the great singer up there, Rita Gallagher. Lovely to see you, Rita. Francis Courtney, Bethany Russell, secretary of the pipe band here, Jackie Ross, Moira Moynihan, and we should thank a couple of people who are with us actually on Zoom. By the way, Tim Denny, he should be getting ready. Yes. John Bentham in Loughborough, and Dave McCracken up there at the Scottish border in Tarset, although he, of course, is a Northumbrian. And normally, things like these flags would be put up by Dave and John, and they were rightly very critical about how saggy they look tonight. But as we explained, given the circumstances this year, we simply couldn't get the labour. Anyway, we're going to go now to the third of our songs from the provinces, and it's the wonderful Tim Dennehy. Tim is a poet, a singer, a songwriter and broadcaster. He's from Ballinskelligs originally in Kerry, now living in Milltown Malbay over the west coast in Clare. He, with his brother-in-law Donald DeBarda, was a founder 42 years ago. As you can see, he's still only 29, so I don't know how he managed to do it 42 years ago, but he was a founder of Angolan Traditional Singers Club. And for that alone, Tim will go down into the tradition's history. But his interpretation, particularly of the work of Sigerson Clifford, is really the feature tonight. A wonderful song that he wrote between the mountains and the sea, Sigerson Clifford being responsible for things like The Boys of Barnesriger. And when Tim returned from Clifford's funeral in 1985, this was his song. But please look him up in Facebook, Bandcamp, and various, Google, because Tim has a wonderful website and lots of CDs to choose from. So over to Clare, Tim Denny.
Thank you.
Oh, the bones are now released from the cold office stool. The soul is now unchained from the cold hands of the clown. And you wander once again on the pallid road to Kells, while the waves wash loud and lonely on the face of Glasgow. To land familiar names ring out your praise forever. Being the tea and born the Roger Carron River, and to let the little Ran sing his timbrel full of glee, and may your rest be peaceful between the mountain and the sea. And 'twas here you loved to stroll all along the Firth River, to see the silver salmon enmeshed in the Seine, and to hear the huntsman's call, or the cry, come on the merry, to feel the horse's hooves on the sod of green Roisin. To land familiar names ring out your praise forever, being the team born as Roger Carron River, and to let the little Ran sing his timbrel full of glee, and may your rest be peaceful between the mountain and the sea. Now the old school you once spoke of has bowed its head to progress. There's a bold and born Roger post a padlock on their doors, and you're leaving us in New Year don't to tinge my heart with sadness, but the places that you cherished I remember evermore. For it is September races, when you'll mingle with the people in each train load to Croke Park, when you'll be there in the van. But most of all on the rolling day, when young and old go travelling, you'll be there with your comrades, and you'll be hunting for the van. So land familiar names ring out your praise forever, being the tea and born as Roger Carron River, and let the little Ran sing his timbrel full of glee, and may your rest be peaceful between the mountain and the sea. May your rest be peaceful between the mountain and the sea.
Yep.
Well done.
Yeah, beautiful stuff, Tim.
G.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Now we have a thing over here, the Scots Tribe Music Awards, and some years ago at the awards ceremony, Shona Donaldson stunned the room with a fabulous solo performance of, I think it was Bonnie Mary of Argyll, if I remember rightly. And you won't be surprised to learn that she has been the recipient of one of the awards for Scots Singer of the Year. Here's Shona with the Burns classic, The Banks of Doon, or Ye Banks and Braes.
Ye banks and braes o' Bonhaven, how can ye bloom sae fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little birds, and I so weary, full of care? You broke my heart, ye little birds, that wanton through the flowery thorn. He mind me, oh, departed joy, departed never to return. Oft hae I roved by Bonhaden to see the rose and woodbine twine, and ilka bird sang o heads of love, I and fondly say that I owe mine. Will there some help I put a rose for sweet upon that thorny tree? But my false lover stole my rose, but he left the thorn with me.
Absolutely beautiful. As we mentioned before, I'm giving Darragh O'Bweel a wee bit notice. As you mentioned before, Shona and Paul Anderson have both been great stalwarts and friends of the Howth Singing Circle. They've appeared at the Burns Nicht a couple of times. And as I mentioned before, on their Facebook, on Paul Anderson's Facebook page, you can catch them every Friday live from the lounge at 8 o'clock, where they perform songs and tunes. Before we go to the fourth of our songs from the provinces, we've got a few other people I should welcome, in particular, watching with us both on Facebook and Zoom: George Henderson, Jack and Angela Plunkett, Aoife and Kieran from the Bray Singing Circle, lovely to see you. Rachel and John and Gavin Byrne from the North Wexford group, Mike Meacham over in London, Frank Spears, another stalwart of the Howth Singing Circle, Portsoy man, Glasgow, watching on Facebook. Bob Blair, great to see you, and Christine Kidd, two great Scottish singers. Bill and Gina Dunlap over in the States. Fiona Ross, lovely to see you, Fiona. I don't know what time of the day or night it is over in Australia, but you're very, very welcome. Harry Friel, who's not missed many Burns Nichts, and of course we must lament his late cousin Jim. Kevin Shelley, Brian Quinn of Ship up in Belfast. Fantastic to see you, Brian. Ollie Farrell, Magdalene Shepherd, Ross McDonald, Tim O'Brien, and Mick O'Connor, Liam's dad, who's looking in. The fourth of our songs from the provinces brings one of the really lovely joys of the singing circle over the last couple of years, when we discovered Darragh O'Bweel, who's come on to as a member of the committee. By the way, I overheard somebody saying earlier, what's a C? A C, S-A-O-I-E, is a term of respect for somebody who has regarded as a leader or an outstanding contributor. So we have a number of C in Howth. You've met Niamh Parsons and Anne Reardon, and Paddy Daly is the third of them. So they were elected as our C. Darragh O'Bweel is from Gidor up in the Donegal, and sings both in English, but particularly as Gaeilge, and has won many awards at County and other Florina for his singing in Sean-Os. Tonight, he's going to sing Galton Glas Gidor, a famous song, The Green Glens or the Green Plains of Gidor, written by Princess Omwini, who is the father of Mairead Nivwini, famously of Alton. Darragh, I should say, is a member of the Howth Singing Circle Committee and organises our annual Oíche Gaelach. And for those of you that have enjoyed tonight, on Thursday, the 4th of February, our annual Oíche Gaelach takes place at 8 o'clock on the Howth Singing Circle page. And Éile ní Guihan is the guest that night. So Dara O'Bwil, fittingly to sing Golden Glasgow Door.
My good Francie. Kids len ich schläftchen wirge a chun da gun al. Agus ye kids len gynnar gulert in as du as can kyris kal. Nur a lush mish a heart lay lochun lui go kyn silan in a lui and may viglan tan las gitor esberg narvresh mochri eg tasho duma Frid Craig Landon San Wakish Mohu Ni mesh dureli brums likre Gurasa helmeshesu Go merkeshier havin mohiel what harannar geword Dag mis lenner faushal eg dungal seglant han les idor Njer vi movian sa material om hier vegi a trom la galdi kluan slifal a hom an me Berun mochri se peluris Nureyen en began stor Is jeru mohil a hayul gil Falant han les hidor Slen go fall a gungal a chun da hev gan smile Star bre in amge naruli out of gal Patch muchri the gaffaris gamri a bash begages more Tabia gobuan kan wach kan gruam Falant han les hidor
And Dara.
Dara O'Bwil there, and with a wee bit of audience participation creeping in there, maybe just a wee reminder to keep yourself muted when the turns are on. So I mentioned the annual Hamish Henderson lecture earlier, and that is the provenance of this next clip. A song by the wonderful Geordie McIntyre, a never present at all of those lectures. And the song is Gula Ben, named for the mountain where Hamish's ashes were scattered. And here to sing it are Steve Byrne and our very own Francie Devine.
Gala Ben Bell Hamlet slow, his dust was scattered into the sky. Hepticals, oh, sang unite, we trilling you cry. This mystic hill, oh, youth and age, towers of the fairyland. Banner brecht in me mornway, Glen sheet Sicily, o'er the earth's the Wednesday blow. Come geese a sang, cried Seamus roar, let the music flow. I sang to cheer a weary head, ain't to drive a ward o' care. Tales o' comradeship and hope that we all can share. Robbie Burns and Thomas Paine, Gramsci, Lorca, John McLean. Listen to the clarion call, let peace and freedom reign. All the sacrifices made, dinner let them be betrayed. Raise your voices, stand as young, as the sang frae Gallabin. Frae Gallabin, bell headed sword, his dust was scattered to the sky. Heptados all sang unite, we thrilling curlew cry.
Well, Steve Byrne and Francie there with Gula Ben.
Lovely.
Now, the World's Room wouldn't be what it is without the presence of our next performer. Singer, compere, and raffle seller supreme. Just one of the very best singers on the Scottish scene just now. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Gardner.
How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Scott, I have to highlight you.
Yeah? These men have reception. Okay?
Yep.
Run and Roman. There was a lad was born in Kyle, but what day or what style? I do it's hardly worth the while to be say nice wi' Robin. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving, rantin' roving. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving Robin. Our monarch's hen missed year but one. 'Twas 25 days begun. 'Twas then a blast o' January wind blew Hansel in and Robin. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving, rantin' roving. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving Robin. The gossip keeked in his loof, go she wha lives will see the proof. This wally boy, he'll be nae coof. I think we'll ca' him Robin. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving, rantin' roving. Robin was a roving boy,
Rantin, Roven, Robin. You'll hae misfortunes, great and small, but I the heart up in the maw. You'll be a credit to us all. Will I be proud, oh Robin? Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving, rantin' roving. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving Robin. But sure as 3 times 3 marks 9, I see by elke scoren line, this chap he'll dearly like her kind, so leaves me on the Robin. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving, rantin' roving. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving Robin. You'd faith, cause she a dirty gar, the bonny lassies lie a spar, but 20 thoughts ye may war. So blessings on the Robin. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving, rantin' roving. Robin was a roving boy, rantin' roving Robin.
Lovely.
What goes on, Scott Gardner, well known for his ranting and roving. Usually, we plew behind him, but that's another story. The last time Scott was in the Howth, not alone did we sell out of oats thanks to Carol Pryor, but all the tatties in the Heron and Howth were gone by Monday afternoon. Very popular figure, and great to see him there, Scott. And Scott, with Niamh Parsons, will be hosting tomorrow afternoon's open Zoom singing session from 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock, which will also be streamed live on Facebook. I think there may be 1 or 2 places still left there. You've got the notices on how to do it. To give Sandy a wee bit notice for my final item, which is a video, just 1 or 2 more people on Facebook that we should recognise. Morag and Frank O'D and Sheila McLagan, who are there watching us in Old Reiki. Stephen Pryor and Margot O'D, Jane Rhodes, Angus Forsyth, Breda Logan, Cahar O'Doherty, Colette Handley, Teresa Gallivan, Mariana Subarova, Kevin Keegan, and Josephine O'Hagan. And I'm sure I've missed a lot of people, but our sincere thanks to everybody that has tuned in either live or will look at it subsequently. And we do intend to put this up in other media, the recording that is, afterwards. One of the great joys of organising this event for me has been to get to know, albeit over the telephone and video, Gary West. We introduced him earlier, mentioned that he was Professor of Scottish Ethnology in Edinburgh, a tremendous piping career, member of the various Celtic superbands in Scotland, his BBC programme Pipelines, and much more beside. And what Gary has been this week is extraordinarily generous with his time, and as you could see from the earlier videos synced by Charlie West, his talents. And when we were discussing it, the idea came up that we should have a set of tunes from him on the small pipe. So here we have Gary West, the last musical item of the night, that is to say instrumental item of the night, playing The Mason's Apron.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you very much, Gary. That was great. The Mason's Apron there. Well, we enjoyed Carol Pryor's song earlier, and here's your chance to collect the set of Pryors. And we're delighted with Alan's choice of song for this evening. A Burns song that was once fairly obscure, but has really come to prominence in more recent times. I say recent, but I just realised now it's nearly 40 years since Dick Gawkins' Handful of Earth came out that really brought this song to prominence. And here to sing it, Westland Winds, is Alan Pryor.
Happy New Year, everybody. Now, Westland winds and slaughter gun, bring autumn, pleasant weather. The moorcock springs on whirring wings among the blooming heather. Now waving grain wide o'er the plain delights the weary farmer, and the moon shines bright as I rove at night to muse upon my charmer. The partridge loves the fruitful fells, the plover loves the mountains, the woodcock haunts the lonely dells, the soaring heron the fountains. Through lofty groves, Acushnet roves, the path of man to Sharnet, the hazel bush o'erhangs the thrush, the spreading thorn, the linnet. Thus every kind their pleasure find, the savage and the tender. Some social join and leagues combine, some solitary wander. Avaunt away the cruel sway, tyrannic man's dominion, the sportsman's joy, the murdering cry, the fluttering gory pinion. But Peggy dear, the evening's clear, thick flies the skimming swallow. The sky is blue, the fields in view, all fading green and yellow. Come, let us stray our gladsome way and view the charms of nature, the rustling corn, the fruited thorn, and every happy creature will gently walk and sweetly talk till the silent moon shine clearly. I'll grasp my waist and fondly pressed, swear how I love thee dearly. Not where no showers the budding flowers, not autumn tear the fair mar, so dear can be as thou to me, my fair, my lovely charmer. Westland, thank you.
Alan, lovely voice. Well done.
Well, no top of the bill for nothing, Mr. Brad. That was absolutely stunning. Some of the comments coming in would make you blush, so I won't repeat them, but absolutely gorgeous. If I could have anybody else's tone of voice, it would be Alan Pryor's. We're getting quite towards the end. I've been asked to mention just a couple of further people, and apologies for those that we maybe didn't mention. Maeve Lawler and Declan Carroll in Westmeath, Roisin and Kevin Cahill in Blackrock. I'd also like particularly to say how pleased we are that so many local people here in Howth have tuned in this evening. It's really deeply appreciated, and thank you all very, very much. And indeed, thank you for those of you who are looking in on Facebook, as well, of course, as all of those of you who've joined us here on Zoom. Before we go to David to conclude the evening, we obviously have a number of thanks to make. First of all, to remind ourselves that the lovely cover here from Alan McMillan of Edinburgh Folk Club, produced for us by Mark Daniel of CRM Design and Print. Terrific work on all their behalves. To the Edinburgh Folk Club, to John Barrow and David in particular, absolutely terrific that you've joined us and been so instrumental and indeed central to everything that's happened. And to David, and he's wearing his other hat with Scott and the people in the World's Room. If you're not familiar with it, it's at the Irish end. If you're in Edinburgh, look out for it. It's the Goleen equivalent in the city. To Anne Reardon, who's here with me, you might come up here now, who's been doing all of the technical work and muting and unmuting and spotlighting. To Helen Lahart and Niamh Parsons, who've also been doing tremendous work controlling the Zoom things. Then again, it looks very straightforward, but it isn't. I'd like you in particular to give a round of applause again to Sandy McGee of Channel 7A in Edinburgh, who's done fantastic work. Absolutely terrific. And without Sandy, who's been very tolerant, he was apologizing to me during the week for getting a wee bit narky, as he called it, in an exchange of emails when we were trying to sort out timings. And as I told him at the time, Sandy McGee has got the nicest narc I've ever met. So thank you very much, Sandy. Don't forget, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, we are going live again, both on Zoom and on Facebook, with the singing session to be led by Scott Gardner in the Scottish end and Niamh Parsons over here. And just to say that, well, I've one final comment, but just going back to the Mason's Apron there from Gary, and I neglected to thank Gary for that. A bit of a challenging of a tune, and again, you can see what a master musician he is. But John Kelly always makes the point that sometimes when you're in sessions, people come up to you and ask you for the most unlikely things. And at a weekly session, it was in the Belfry in Stony Batter. John, this guy used to come up every week and say, John, would you play My Son's a Prawn? My Son's a Prawn. And sorry, I don't, actually, you play it every week. My Son's a Prawn. Anyway, it turned out to be the Mason's Apron. So Gary, the next time you play it, you remember the title is My Son's a Prawn. Okay, just finally, in conclusion, just to say that tonight, I think, has gone hopefully relatively smoothly. Let us know what you think about it. We calculate that the guts of 50 people have been involved directly in recording, performing, doing technical work. So it's been a huge effort, and that underlines the solidarity and fraternity that we've got from Edinburgh Folk Club and from the World's Room. So from us in Howth, a sincere thanks to our friends in Old Reekie. And I'll hand you now, I'll say goodnight, Ihoi, and I'll hand you over to David Francis and Marty Campbell to finish tonight.
Thanks very much, Francie. And of course, one person that we should not neglect to thank is yourself. So let's hear it, everybody, for Francie Devine, who is the moving force behind the whole thing. And I'll just echo Francie's thanks to Sandy in particular, who's been really the linchpin of the whole technical side of the thing. And also a particular thanks to the Scottish performers tonight, who all so graciously agreed to take part in this quite unique event, I think. So that's almost all from us, except for two classic parting songs that we're going to leave you with. One from Ireland, one from Scotland. And to start us off, we're going to have The Parting Glass, sung by Mary Campbell, who just happens to be in the room here beside me. So, Mary, over to you.
Hello, folks. Thank you, Frankie. It's been an absolutely gorgeous night of music. So, slightly nervous about singing The Parting Glass in this setup, but hey, this is how I do it. Thank you, everybody. It's beautiful. Of all the money that I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Of all comrades that e'er I've had, I'm sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I've had would wish me one more day to stay. But since it's fallen to my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all.
Lovely.
Lovely, Mary.
Lovely. Thank you.
Beautiful.
All right. So Dave and I are going to finish off the night, I believe, with the original version of Auld Lang Syne.
All right.
Should old acquaintance be forgot, never brought in mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot, and Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my Jo, Shirley, you'll be your pint stoop, and Shirley, I'll be mine, and we'll tak a cup of kindness yet for auld lang syne, for auld lang syne, my Jo, for auld lang syne, we'll tak a cup of kindness yet for auld lang syne. We twa ran about the braes and pulled the gowans fine, and we've wandered mony the weary fit sin auld lang syne. We twa pedaled in the burn fae morning sun till dine, but the seas between us braid he road sin auld lang syne, for auld lang syne, my Jo, auld lang syne, we'll tak a cup of kindness yet for auld lang syne. And here's a hand, and here's a hand, my trusty fear, and gie's a hand o' thine, and we'll tak a right goodwill walk for auld lang syne, for auld lang syne, my Jo, auld lang syne, we'll tak a cup of kindness yet for auld lang syne. Oh, wow.
Lovely, lovely.
Lovely.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Fantastic.
All right, everybody, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
So much.
Lovely
Bye.
night. Thank you.
Thanks a
Nice,
million.
Francine.
Pass again.
Nice to see everybody.